Well, everybody, October is here, spooky season is here, and just ask Alabama. It's getting it's getting pretty scary between the numbers. Me oh my. Uh Diego Pavia. I mean
Yeah, who would
our
have thunk?
our king. That was crazy.
It is crazy. It is the first win for Vanderbilt against a top five opponent, I think, ever,
Yes, they were 0-60 prior.
which is insane. We've been saying it for weeks. Vandy is no longer the bottom barrel of the SEC.
No, that would be Mississippi State.
It would be by that long shot. But uh, yeah, how good is Vandy this year?
They're fine.
They're
I think
fine.
I think they're fine. I think they're like a 6-6, 7-5 team.
Okay.
I don't think they're incredible. They do have, I mean, they have a solid defense. They have a good running game,
Mm-hmm.
which is can be a recipe to win. I mean, we've seen that with Iowa over like decades with Kirk Ferentz. We're seeing that with
Yeah,
Michigan, even though they just, I think, lost to Washington.
they did. But
But yeah, no, defense,
if
run game, that's the recipe to win,
it is a ground and pound,
especially if you are lacking in the talent department, which Vandy is against a lot of their opponents. Uh,
we will admit that and concede that point in that Vandy is definitely not recruiting the top end talent into the SEC.
yeah, I mean, I guess to fully contextualize what we're talking about, if you don't know,
Yeah,
Van Alabama, um, I, I mean that was just part that they were just one upset of just like an insane weekend of upsets. And it goes to what I was saying that it, we're due we're due for a crazy year because I don't think there's a top team. I mean,
hmm.
I'm watching college football and I'm like, I just don't see like a clear number one. I just don't see it.
A clear number one. I will say, like as far as it goes right now, Texas is the only top team that hasn't really stumbled yet.
Yeah, but they haven't played anyone.
That is
Ohio State
true.
hasn't stumbled yet, but they haven't played anyone.
That is true. So I mean,
Uh,
like there's a couple there who haven't really been tested yet, but we're gonna get to that point. I believe, like, isn't Ohio State Oregon this week?
yes, it sure is.
So I mean, like that's the test. That is the test for those teams in the Big Ten
Hmm.
to see who is where. Um, Now for Texas, Texas has been playing a quote unquote backup quarterback in Arch Manning.
Yeah, but it's not like most backups.
Oh,
Or
it's most definitely not like most backups. It's hard to be the when your backup is the number one recruit in his class. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad backup to have.
yeah, but I just don't see a number one, like a clear, distinct number one. For like a couple years in a row is Georgia. Last year, I think in hindsight we can say it was Michigan. Um, I just don't see it this year.
We might.
I see I see a lot of teams that are good, a lot of teams that are pretty good. I also see a lot of mediocrity. Um, and I just think that we're gonna like, I think come the end of the regular season, there's gonna be a lot of like,
Who gets in? Who gets those 11 spots?
yeah, like 2 and 3 lost teams in the top 10. I
Yeah,
think we're gonna see that.
I
I
think it will happen.
outside of I mean, I said it last week. Outside of the group of five, I have a very difficult time seeing anybody going undefeated.
Really?
I do. I have a really difficult
You
time seeing
think you
anyone going.
think everyone's going to stumble this year? There's not going to be a 12 and 0 team in the Power 4.
I just don't think there's anyone good enough.
Hmm.
Or if there is, we haven't seen them like really put it to the test.
Put
AKA,
themselves apart.
yeah, AKA a Texas and Ohio State. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe a Penn State. I don't know. Because I mean, that I do think that the win against Illinois was a really good win.
is a great win.
Yeah.
It's not like showcasing anything 21 to 7.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see as the year goes on, but I don't see anyone separating themselves.
Right. Man, oh man. Oh, so other than Vandy, what happened to Missouri?
Um, the 12th man happened. It's
That
the
is a
12th.
that is a Big 12 man. 31 points. They lost 41 to 10. I didn't have the chance to watch the game. I was baking in the sun at another game. I don't know if
Yeah,
you can tell. It's I'm very red from that game.
I can now that you're saying something.
Yeah, it's I was
Like sunscreen.
cooking.
You got to put on sunscreen. You got to avoid that melanoma, baby.
Well, it's gonna hit me later on in life, let me tell you, because it was hot at that Louisville SMU game.
Yeah, that
But
was another one of the unranked over ranked upsets.
it was.
But that wasn't even one of the big ones. It was just crazy. Not crazy. Louisville was ranked 22nd, but
Well, what's interesting is like I feel like the biggest ones for me were obviously Alabama. The other biggest loss was Tennessee to Arkansas. I did not have that on the cards at all. Uh,
I
A
I I I I didn't think it would happen, but I thought it could happen.
yeah,
But keep going.
but like A&M was a favorite going into the game, according to betting stats. Like
Yeah.
A&M was a favorite over Missouri. Um, Tennessee was favorited by 14 against Arkansas. They lost by 5. Vandy was a dog by 22 and a half points to give you an idea of just how the
Yeah.
size of that upset. And then I did not stay up late enough to watch Miami Cal, but I saw that they were down big.
hmm yeah, that was there were also apparently very questionable calls at the end of the game that helped Miami win.
Seems
Uh
to be the case back to back weeks for that, in my opinion.
that tends to happen with ACC teams. The team that's got a shot at doing anything
Yeah.
playoff related magically is one of the most disciplined teams in the country, playing the least disciplined team in the country every week. You know, it's just how it ends up working out. It
Huh.
benefited Louisville last year.
Yeah.
It's the
It's just
ACC does that.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
And
but
then, yeah, sorry.
it's funny. So there were three top 10 upsets. There was almost a fourth with Miami, like you mentioned. USC lost, and they were just outside of the top 10. They were ranked 11. I saw a metric. It was some like analytical thing, so I can't even like quantify it. But it was
Hmm.
like it was breaking down the worst losses and the best losses. They said the worst loss of the week was actually USC to Minnesota.
Interesting.
Hit it because Minnesota sucks.
They do suck.
They're really bad.
Huh.
They're bad,
Yeah.
and so that USC loss is not good at all. It's a really bad loss. Um, and I kind of I mean, for me, USC, I had them ranked top 10. I completely dropped them from my rankings after that.
So it's weird. I still wanted to rank Michigan even after their loss, just barely. And so like no, I was actually the opposite. I think I dropped USC and Michigan's my 25th and Michigan beat USC. So I think USC's out for me too.
Yeah, I mean with Michigan, Washington looks better than they did earlier in the year. Early like the first like 3 weeks of the season, Washington did not look good.
Mm.
Uh actually no, it's like first 4 weeks because they were I think 2-2 at one point, and
Hmm.
now Washington 4-2. Um but yeah, I mean they've seemed to have turned it around. Jed Fish is a good coach. Um
Yeah,
I mean, not all losses are created the same. That Minnesota loss is a terrible one, and
it's a very bad one.
it really like reframes how I view USC because I really do. I think the Big Ten sucks outside of the top teams. I think it's a
Like,
really bad. Like I think Ohio State is good. I think Penn State's good. Oregon could be good. I don't. I don't really know yet. Oregon could be good, and
uh-huh.
then Michigan's fine.
See, I don't agree with that because I feel like you got to add two more teams in that.
Illinois, I would go with Illinois. I think they're good.
Yeah.
And then who? Oh,
Indiana.
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 Oh, I forgot. Actually,
Indiana's good this year. And I mean, like, that's six teams right there. So, I mean, like, in a way, that's six teams that I think should be ranked.
this team's
That's
in a conference of 18 teams, though. I,
still, though, that's just less than a fourth of the top 25. I mean, if you're putting six teams in the top 25, that's solid.
I don't know. I think the Big Ten has some terrible, terrible, terrible teams.
They
Like,
do.
but also, again, getting back to I don't think there's a top team uh, uh, point from earlier. I also think that I think it might just be a down year for the sport, like college football in general, because I'm looking around at the SEC and I'm like, there's some teams that are really like. I think Texas A&M. I think they're overrated. I think LSU and Oklahoma are extremely overrated. Um, Missouri's fine. They've got a good defense, but their offense struggles. But then, and so, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, the SEC's not that, it's not anywhere near as good as we thought going into the year. But then I'm looking around at other conferences and I'm like,
That's
okay, well,
just the status quo.
I'm like, well, okay, the Big 12, they don't look that good.
No,
The,
Big 12 does not look good at all.
the ACC doesn't look good at the top.
No, it doesn't. It's
There's
like
not a lot of like group of
I
fives
think
standing out to me.
I think what the issue is like you said there's no number one team, and so like it really just comes down to how you play week in and week out, which is going to make this season exciting. At
Yeah,
least,
absolutely.
I mean, it's going to be what team shows up on that field that day. Because I'm looking at A&M right now, and it's like they lost by 10 to Notre Dame. Since then, they've won out, but it's like the way they've won is not very impressive. Like they've beat Florida by 13, Boston, I mean, not Boston College, Bowling Green State by 6, Arkansas by 4. But then it's like, is Arkansas decent because they just beat Tennessee? It's like, how do you quantify this? Because we have these preseason predictions and assumptions that we make about these teams, and then we're not
I, w-
correct. And so,
I did have Texas A&M getting out to a 5-1 start. However, I think I flipped Missouri and Notre Dame
so here's a question for you. There are three teams currently undefeated in the SEC play. Can you name all three
in conference play.
in conference play?
Yeah,
There's three
Tex-
teams: Texas A&M,
Texas.
Texas.
It's not no, it's not Vandy because they lost to Missouri. Um, three teams undefeated in SEC play.
Yes, going into week 7.
Going, what's the other team? It's not.
Give you a hint. They're 4-1 overall. They're 1-0 in conference play.
Is it? Was it like Oklahoma or LSU?
It is LSU.
Two. I see. I think out of the three schools in the SEC that I think are really overrated this year, A&M, Oklahoma, and LSU. I think LSU is the worst. I think LSU is not good this year. It's
Yeah,
just, but like you're saying, yeah, I don't think there's. I just think that the ceiling is a little low this year, and I think the floor is also a little low. But like because the ceiling is so low in football, I think it looks so much more like smushed together.
I think what it is that we have these expectations of like we put teams in tiers. Like I did it last week on the podcast where I'm like these teams are in tiers. And the more and more these teams play and that tier list is getting shattered, it's just like Kentucky can beat Ole Miss. But then Kentucky can go ahead and lose to South Carolina, you know? And then you have Missouri who can go into overtime with Vanderbilt and then lose to A&M, and then Vandy then goes beat Alabama, but then Alabama can beat Georgia, and it's like there's just going to be a circle where every team is going to have a loss to someone, and it's like week in and week out. It depends on who shows up.
Yeah,
It
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I don't I don't think there's that clear top team. I also don't think that there's like teams and conferences that are like, well, okay, maybe Texas is the obvious number one in the SEC, but here we are, Ole Miss. We're really solidifying ourselves as number two or three. It's like no, I don't. I think
no,
I
I,
just, it's not a lot of separation between teams. And yeah, I mean, it normally does come down to like who shows up in college because it's like it's such an emotional sport.
mhm.
College,
The caveat with Texas though is that like they've only played one ranked team, and that one ranked team I think sucks, and that's Michigan. It's
I
like
don't think they suck.
I mean, I truly don't think they're a good team. Like Texas has played Colorado State, Michigan, UTSA, uh, Lamar Monroe, is that how you say it?
Louisiana Monroe.
My
L-
bad. Louisiana Monroe.
Monroe is 4-1, shockingly.
And Mississippi State is their only playing conference.
Yeah, they got off to a slow start against Mississippi State.
Yeah, and it's Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, it's year one for a coach. Coaches can get better. I don't.
No,
I
they
don't.
can, but I mean, like, it's gonna be rough before it gets better.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Um,
do you know who Louisiana Monroe's starting quarterback is?
no, but I'm gonna cheat right now.
You're never gonna guess his name in a million years, ever. And let me know when you found it.
Aiden Armetta?
No,
No.
Louisiana Monroe's starting quarterback. His name is General Booty.
What?
His name is General
Oh, it
Booty.
is. Well, he doesn't lead the team. It is General Booty. It is.
Hmm?
Uh, he doesn't lead the team in passing yards. That's their
Yeah, he's a
backup.
maybe they run a two quarterback system. I don't know. I really haven't watched Louisiana Monroe this year. I'll be perfectly honest.
Well, they just beat James Madison last week in
Yeah, actually,
in
I
a
picked that one
massive
in
Sun
our
Belt
pick.
upset.
Yeah, that was in our pick'ems, and I actually picked them, so I
Oh,
feel
there you
proud.
go. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. You know what? Some other undefeated teams that we could talk about: Army and Navy, both 5-0,
it's ridiculous.
both again. So same year. It's been since 1945 since both of them were 5-0. Did you know in 1945, Army didn't have a logo?
What?
They didn't have a logo. They were just like wearing blank helmets out there. So the last time both of these teams were undefeated, Army didn't have a logo, and Navy I think only had a logo for like I think it was like a few years prior.
So, they both respectfully finish 28th and 29th in the AP polls.
Like
Just
this most
this most recent. So, it was USC with 98 votes, Nebraska with 51, followed by Navy at 43 and Army at 33, and then the 30th was 26 with Vanderbilt.
man, Vanderbilt's not a ranked team. I'll say it.
If
Um,
if they win next, if they win, they're on their way.
they're on. You know what? 4-1 obviously is more impressive. Well, 4-2 is more impressive than 3-2. But yeah, I don't know. Well, they're in our picks, so we'll see. But to keep on the Army train, also the other two teams that we have talked about, the only teams this year to not trail in a game at any point this season are Texas, Indiana, and Army.
Really?
Yep, those are the only three. Texas and Army have only played 5 games. Indiana's played 6 games.
Indiana could go 11-1 in my opinion.
Kurt Signetti is a phenomenal coach.
They, I mean, they blew the brakes off of UCLA, Maryland, and Northwestern by they're winning by double digits. They're winning by two possessions.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty
they
good.
now, I mean, their next two games will probably be their biggest tests because they have Nebraska and Washington. There is a case to be made where if Oregon, Penn State, and Ohio State just beat each other up, because I'm not exactly sure if they have each other. Uh, Oregon
Uh,
has
I know Penn State plays Ohio State. That's the
Penn
only like
State. Penn State
tough
plays
team.
Ohio State. Oregon plays Ohio State. Um, but like Indiana completely avoids every single ranked matchup more or less. They avoid Illinois, they avoid Penn State, they avoid Oregon. They just have Ohio State and Michigan on their ranked rosters. I mean, not
Michigan's at.
rosters. It is. And then they have to go to Ohio State the week
Yeah.
after.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think in year one for Kurt Signetti, that works out better because Michigan is the more beatable team this year.
Oh,
Both
1000%.
teams, because of just brand name, they're going to draw a big crowd for Indiana, especially with the year Indiana's been having.
Oh yeah.
Um, Michigan's the easier game. So like,
I
yeah,
mean,
it's like that
it's
one at
way
home.
too early to say this. They're already bowl eligible. They're 6-0. I mean,
They're
hot start.
one of few teams that are bowl eligible right now.
Yeah. The only team that's bowl eligible right now in the Big Ten.
hmm Another fun fact about the Big Ten: for the first time in the AP poll era, 3 out of the top 4 teams that are ranked are in the Big Ten.
Really?
Can you
Oh, because it's Oregon, Ohio State, and Penn State.
can you believe that's the first time?
Well, I mean, SEC's just dominated. I mean, it's it's crazy that we have a top five right now where Alabama and Georgia are not in it. Or I could be wrong. I think Georgia might be five right now, but
Alabama, I know, dropped to 7.
it's just ridiculous.
Um,
Even
interestingly enough,
Georgia's fifth, so no. We have a
yeah.
top four without them, which is unheard of for the past decade.
Well, Texas is in it. Texas is in the SEC now.
No, I'm just saying like without Georgia or Alabama in the top four.
Yeah. You're right about that. I forgot that that's what you prefaced it with. Um, but to keep on the Big Ten and polling, this is just a little anecdote, but so last we have our own poll, College Shop Podcast poll. We upload it on Instagram. Um, Rutgers has never been ranked in our poll, but I voted for them multiple times. And every single time that I voted for them, they lose that week. And I voted for Rutgers, and then they lost. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. There's nothing else I can say, but I'm sorry. All right. You know what? Let's do Ashton Genty watch.
Holy crap.
Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Man is on a tear. Just played Utah State University. Boise State won the game 62-30. Ashton Genty had 13 carries for 186 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did not play the second half of the game.
Yeah. Why would he?
Exactly. Because he's trying to catch Barry. That's why he would.
So, okay, in 5 games, he has 1,031 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns,
Hmm.
which is crazy on its own. But if you like break that down into quarters that he's played,
Oh.
I mean, that's insane.
Hmm.
Because basically, if you break it down to quarters, he's played less than 4 games.
Hmm.
And he's put up those numbers essentially in less than 4 games. Wild. Just absolutely wild.
So here's another thing for you. Two of his touchdowns, 75 yards, 69 yards.
Those are some long runs.
It's very long runs.
I'd be winded.
So here's a stat that I saw online. For him to catch Barry, because we're officially in the territory where it's possible he could catch Barry. You're looking at the schedule. He's in a
But
poor Mountain West conference where
yeah,
there's not a lot going on defensively. Uh, he needs to average 211 yards and 3 touchdowns a game to catch Barry. And I think it's kind of crazy to say that that is doable.
uh, as an average, yeah. I mean, we'll see.
I mean,
It'll be difficult to do, especially if he's
his
not second half.
his over under to bet his rushing prop line was 175.
Like
Like, so they set the line for him to get 175 yards last game. That's
Utah,
insane. Yeah,
he did it in a half. Yeah,
he did it in a half. But also,
that's
it's like, does Vegas know that he's only going to play a half too?
I don't know.
Because like he's running for 256, I think was his career high. Um, yeah, no, I got a 267 is what he ran against Georgia Southern week 1. Week 4 he ran for 259. His lowest was their largest win against Portland State, where he only ran for 127 yards. Caveat to that, he only got the ball 11 times.
And they again did not play him in the second half.
Right. Did not have any touchdowns in that game either.
And the thing is, if they keep blowing out teams like that, like they're doing, and they keep benching him, he's going to be fresh later in the year.
Oh my gosh. The So excluding the Portland State game, the least amount of touchdowns that he's had in a game is 3.
I mean, for the love of God, someone give Ashton Genty the Heisman right now.
If we were to do it right now, yeah, it would be him.
Give it right now. Not if we were, give it to him,
I think the only reason why they wouldn't is
boys.
is where he plays. Yeah, exactly.
And the Heisman Club, they're a bunch of good old boys. They do not want to give the Heisman to someone from Boise State. So yeah, he has to. Him and Boise State collectively as a team, they have to be incredible this year. I mean, let's remember that um Randy Moss had like
Marshall,
yeah, he had like 28 receiving touchdowns in a year,
and they
and he got third in the Heisman.
it was him, Manning, and who won it?
I was
Let me look that
Michigan,
up.
the Michigan defender. Not
Woodson.
yeah, yeah, Charles Woodson. Um, Charles Woodson should not have won it. It should have been reverse order. It should have been Moss, Manning second, Woodson third. I get it. I get it with Woodson. Randy Moss should have won. It just goes to show that they don't want to give the Heisman to teams from small schools, schools without the same history.
Honestly, what a class that Heisman was in 97. It was Woodson, Manning, Leaf, and Moss.
That's a
Like,
good class.
it's an insane class.
I mean, yeah, you look back on some years and you're like, oh, okay. They give it to just one of them.
Mm.
You look back on some years and you're like, well, okay, I guess someone had to win it. Like when Danny Warfel won it, Florida. That was one of those years where you're like,
Eh,
gotta give it to somebody.
yeah, someone's got to be the best this year.
But that's Ash and Genty talk. Give
Hmm.
them. Moving on to news
But
because
staying in the Mountain West, though.
yeah, not a lot of news. Um, we'll stick with the Mountain West. UTEP is moving to the Mountain West. That is not the news we thought we were going to get last week when we were talking.
No, it's
Uh,
not.
yeah, we thought it was going to be Texas State. It was reported by ESPN that Texas State was all but guaranteed to join the Mountain West,
Signed, sealed, and delivered, but it wasn't.
and then UTEP announced that they're going to the Mountain West, and Texas State said that they were not leaving the Sun Belt.
Hmm.
So I don't. Who knows at this point?
I mean,
Uh,
honestly, would you make the jump from Sunbelt to the Mountain West at this current state? Because the Mountain
I'm.
West is still getting poached, and I feel like the Sunbelt at least is a little bit of a safer and secure conference than the Mountain West at this moment in time.
I mean, we talked about it last week. I think the Sun Belt right now, as it stands, is a better football conference than the Mountain West. The Mountain West was really good last year. Um,
Well, they just lost all their good football, so like, why would you move there?
exactly.
Like, any team that was somebody in the Mountain West in football has just jumped ship to the Pac-12.
Yeah. That will put the Mountain West back up to 8. They're probably trying to get back to 10.
We'll
They're
see.
gonna have to go FCS is my guess. Um, but
Yeah.
that other conference that's trying to get to 10, that currently only has 7
Hmm.
members, or will, they have added Gonzaga.
And this is the Pac-12.
Well, I should have mentioned that first. Yes, the Pac-12 has added Gonzaga in every sport except for football, of course, because they don't have a football program.
It's also
Uh,
just not big enough school for it, in my opinion.
it'd be difficult,
Yeah,
but that's interesting.
it's a great
Um,
get. Great for the basketball programs, both women and men.
sucks for the West Coast Conference.
Oh my gosh. It
Sucks.
plummets that conference into it's not even a mid-major conference anymore at that point. It is
No,
like
it's
the
Aries and then everybody else.
yeah, I mean like but then even years ago you were saying St. Mary's wasn't somebody. So I mean like it
I
wasn't
mean,
until recently St. Mary's was something, like for the
they,
past decade.
yeah, yeah, for the past decade they've been a decent program.
So I mean like the WCC is just going to falter down into like honestly, it's giving like the Patriot League.
Well, so they did add Grand Canyon, GCU,
Mhm.
and Seattle. Um, this is clearly prep for the possibility, what was probably an inevitability that you lose Gonzaga and
And
maybe so St. Mary's,
yeah,
because St. Mary's could still jump ship, go to the Pac-12. West Coast Conference will still be alive, because they have now uh, Grand Canyon and Seattle. Grand Canyon's a good school for basketball. Seattle, I think they suck at everything, but they're in Seattle, so you can keep that market. Um, that just sucks for the West Coast Conference. I hate the smaller conferences just getting rated like this.
I mean it's what you got to do. It's
It's fun and horrible at the same
you
time.
got to be. Do you want to be the big fish in the small pond like Gonzaga, or do you want to be a decent sized fish in the bigger lake?
This is still a small pond if you're Gonzaga. The Pac-12 is not.
Well, it's definitely a step.
I will say
You are
this:
moving upstream.
if you're looking at basketball, the schools that the Pac-12 added, Boise State was the tournament team last year. San Diego State has been a tournament team for several years now. They made the national championship game a couple years ago. Colorado State was a tournament team, and then
San Diego
Fresno
State.
State. That's what I said already.
Oh my bad. Yeah, so
Yeah,
It's Boise State, Colorado State, Cal State?
Fresno State.
No, Cal State University. What?
I
Fresno, San Diego State University, Oregon State, Washington State, and Utah State. What is Cal State University?
I don't know. I don't know what you're looking at. I said the four teams they added. Oh, and they added Utah State, who is also good at basketball. So these are really good basketball additions. So Gonzaga moving to the Pac-12 does make sense. Um,
Mm,
they're definitely going to be playing against tougher competition than they were in the West Coast Conference.
yeah.
So there's going to be more respect there. It's still not like they're moving to the Big 12,
Mm.
but yeah, all this basketball talk,
It's
it's gonna
getting
be it's
there.
just, we're getting there. We're at the point where the big schools, the big like basketball programs, they're having like their preseason like hype events.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I saw
Absolutely.
Gonzaga had their like, they call it like kennel crazies or something like that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Duke's gonna have theirs. Louisville had Louisville Live. Um,
Yeah. So give us a little itch. Give us a little something about basketball. What team are you most excited about next year?
it's Louisville. What do you mean? Look at
Right?
the L on your hat, man.
Oh, I'm very, very happy to hopefully have a team that is
Look at the thinker on my chest.
it's very true. Okay, excluding Louisville, what school are you most excited about in your
Ex-
bipartisan ways, if you will?
Let me look at my preseason top 30. That's right. You heard it here. Well, sneak peek. Anyway, I mean Alabama's going to be really good.
I mean, they have Mark Sears and Grant Nelson returning
And they brought in Cliff Amorie.
from Rutgers.
Yeah, he's a great rim runner. It will provide them some defense in the paint, which they have not had.
Hmm.
Um, Baylor.
Baylor.
So Baylor brought in some really good transfers with Jeremy Roach and Norchad Omier,
They did.
and they also are bringing in the freshman VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah, he's a 5 star.
Not just a 5 star. Have you seen Edgecombe play?
I have not.
Dude, he was practicing with, I can't remember what country it was. It might have been like Jamaica or something.
Hmm.
Um, he was like basically just like practicing with them during the Olympic qualifying rounds.
Hmm.
He almost single-handedly took them to the Olympics.
Really?
Yeah, Baylor is going to be really good because VJ Edgecombe is really good.
Man.
Outside of that, I'm curious to see if Indiana can do anything because they spent a ton of money in NIL. St. John's, I'm interested because they got some really good transfers like Kadari Richmond, um, who is to a lot, according to a lot of services, was the number one transfer in the portal. Um,
Yeah.
Also Wake Forest. I want to see if Wake Forest can finally make the tournament
They
under
have Hunter Salas, who is solid.
and Tyler Johnson.
Really? Oh,
Hmm.
a little Tyler Johnson action. Yep. As a Louisville fan, yep. It
Well, I
is
mean,
interesting though, because like two teams that you mentioned, Baylor and St. John's. Baylor's only returning Jade Nunn in the starting lineup, and St. John's has zero stars returning.
I don't I don't care. I think they're getting in some good transfers. Wait, wait, no, the RJ Luis is coming back though, right? For St. John's?
Yeah, but I don't think he started majority of games.
Huh. He was still a good player.
Yeah.
So he'll
Um,
still some returning
what
production.
about Houston running it back again this year, but without Jamal Shed? Instead, it's going to be Milo's Uzan there, the transfer coming in.
Milos Uzan.
My apologies.
It's fine.
But yeah, yeah, they're running it. LJ Crier's still there. Emmanuel Sharp's going to be still there. Jawan Roberts is there, as Javier Francis is going to be the big man there too as well. So I mean, like that defense is
Yeah,
still going to be there. I mean, they are going to be missing the best defensive player in my opinion last year.
but more importantly, Jamal Shed was there. He was the key to
He
their ignition.
he was the leader. He was the offense. Can LJ Crier take a step, and can Emmanuel Sharp take a step?
Yeah. The only reason Houston lost in the tournament last year is because LJ Cryer rolled his ankle in
And they
the.
lost to Duke. Yeah, they lost by 3 to Duke, 54 to 51.
Mhm. And so there's going to be a lot of weight on Milos Uzan's shoulders. It'll be interesting to see.
What do
I mean,
you
they're going to be just about Houston. They've gotten to the point where it's like Kelvin Sampson's going to make them a top 10 team. I
right?
trust in Kelvin Sampson. Whether they're a championship contender, it we'll have to see, but they're going to be top 10.
What about Kansas? Kansas sucked last year according to Kansas standards. It was like a 4 seed in the tournament or something along those lines.
They just didn't have the depth.
Yeah, they still are returning Hunter Dickinson. He's coming back. They have Jawan Harris and KJ Adams. They also got AJ Storm from Wisconsin, and they also got Zeke Mayo. Is that his name?
From South
So
Dakota State.
so it'll be interesting to see there. I mean, they also brought in some decent recruits as well.
Yeah. Kansas is interesting. I will say there's another team that's more interesting than Kansas to me, and that's Gonzaga. We were just talking about them. Gonzaga brings back every single major player except for one, and um they bring Khalif Battle in from the transfer portal and Michael Ajayi.
Yeah, Michael Ajayi is supposed to be really good.
He is
But
really good.
but what is interesting about Gonzaga, did not bring in a single recruit this year.
That's weird.
Hitting heavy in the portal though. So it will be interesting. But like Graham Ike, Ryan Nimbar from Creighton a year ago, brought in. Still got veterans in Ben Gregg as well as Nolan Hickman. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do there.
I think Gonzaga is going to be good. Louisville. Louisville's going to finally do something this year.
Louisville, it's the same question I have about Louisville is the same question I have about Kentucky because
And
it is
Oregon.
yes, it is a completely new team. Like from top to bottom, as far as like guys that got on the court last year for those schools, they don't have a single one returning.
Aiden McCool.
We'll
He's a walk.
see. I'm just saying it'll be interesting to see. But like personally, I think Kentucky did better in the portal than Louisville, but it's a matter of how all of it comes together.
I personally think Louisville did better only because I think I see how the players gel better in a system.
Mm,
Although, no, Kentucky got a lot of really good players. Like a
I
lot of
mean,
really.
a ton of good players.
Is his name Jackson Robinson?
Jackson Robinson, yep, from BYU.
He is the cherry on top. He's really good.
And they went out and got like key specialists. Like they got Kobe Bria from Dayton, the top 3-point shooter.
Or
Um,
Carissa, number two, basically.
yeah, from West Virginia.
Yeah, they got that center, I think Brandon Garrison.
Oh, Oklahoma State. Yep. They got Andrew Carr from Wake Forest. Otega Owen from Oklahoma, who is like a wing 2-3 player. Can't forget about Lamont Butler, the point guard from San Diego State. And then Amari Wilson, who is the 3-time Defensive Player of the Year from his conference. I forget. He's from this small school. Where did he go? Amari Williams.
Von Butler is the interesting one to me because to me that's the biggest. Like, I don't see how he fits in Mark Pope's system. I don't know. I don't really see it as much, but it kind of
The CAA Drexel is where he came from. Amari Williams. Sorry for interrupting.
big
It is
five.
interesting.
Yeah, no, Lamont Butler, I don't see. I struggle to see how it fits, and I think for me that's the key factor for Kentucky
Mm,
is how does Lamont Butler play in Pope's system? I don't know.
it will be interesting.
Yep, that's our little basketball
Ooh,
taste.
I'm so excited.
I'm getting, I'm pumped. One last bit of news before we do our pick'ems. That would be weekday football is back. Uh, Meaning Maction and Cuz Action or CUS Action as they call it. They're trying to take the thing that the Mac did, which they
Oh,
call it Maction.
you kind of lost me. I was trying to follow.
Yeah, I call it Maction and Cuz Action.
Oh, is that so? Huh. You felt good about that one, huh?
I didn't think about it before it came out of my mouth. And then oh, I said that. Um, but yeah, no,
It's like,
weekday football's back starting tomorrow, as recording this, starting today as of this episode coming. That would be Wednesday and Tuesday football games.
it is. It'll be fun to see.
And of course,
Action and action.
it starts with Cuz Action tomorrow. And what better place for Cuz Action than the evangelical funded school, Liberty, to host
I
Cuz Action?
didn't know it was evangelical.
It is that is a school funded by like televangelists.
Oh, how about that? Good for
That
the good
that's
for the
why Liberty has so much money.
good for the TV pastors giving some money away.
Yeah. And you know they love Cuz Action.
I
You know they love it.
bet they do.
All right. You want to move on to the pick'ems?
Sure.
Okay.
Why am I laughing so much at this?
I know why you're laughing. It's because it's silly. I didn't think about it in my head before I said it. And before I said it the second, because I said it once and it still didn't process in my head. And then the second time I'm like, cuz action.
Okay. All right, let's do the pick'ems. Holy crap.
Yeah, okay. Let's start off. I think this is our only G5 game
This
this
should
week.
be a good one. Both teams are 4-1.
I mean, overall, there's not a lot of super intriguing games. Uh,
No.
but we're gonna start off with Coastal Carolina at JMU, James Madison. James Madison took their first loss. Oh, they have looked better on the year than I thought they would.
hmm Barely lost the game too.
Hmm. I'm gonna go with James Madison.
I'm kind of with you on this one. I don't know. Uh, yeah, just give me James Madison. I don't really know too much about these teams to really comment, but I think historically speaking, James Madison. So James Madison.
All right, next up we have Utah versus Arizona State. Arizona State is a surprising 4-1. Utah, in my eyes, is also a surprising 4-1, but that's because Cam Rising was not healthy for that one.
I
Uh,
gotta look at, and I'm looking to see if he's healthy now because it seems with this man, it is a make or break for this team. Cam
off,
Rising injury update 4 hours ago by Sports Illustrated. Weighing
what do we
him,
got?
said Rising is week to week and he warmed up on the field before his last two games. Just basically what Kyle Whittingham has said. He's week to week.
He tried to play against Oklahoma State, which was two
hmm
weeks ago. He couldn't do it. I'm
He
still
said,
gonna
well,
Go ahead.
He said for the Arizona State game, he said, "We'll see what happens this week, but there's a chance." It is still early in the week, but we're crossing our fingers and hoping for the best, as is Cam.
Um, I'm still gonna go with Utah. I think the defense is really, really good. Arizona State has a freshman quarterback who has looked good this year, but he has not been immune to mistakes. Uh, I like Kenny Dillingham. I like Arizona State, but I think Utah is just the better team with or without Cam Rising.
Give me Arizona State. It's at Arizona State. Why not?
It's definitely possible.
I mean, I think if Cam Rising doesn't play, I mean, have we really seen the best out of this team? I mean, Oklahoma State isn't good. They just barely won by 3 against them. They lost to Arizona. I mean, are we just going to see a declining trend now? I mean, the morale can't be great in that locker room right now.
I think they're fine. They've had one loss. I think they'll bounce back.
Give me Arizona State.
Um, Next up we have Washington versus Iowa. Two. This was a bit of a stretch to put this on here because it's not the most intriguing matchup.
Mm,
Teams have four. Both teams have two losses. It's at Iowa. I don't know who you got.
uh, give me, give me Washington because it's like it's at Iowa, so like Iowa should get it done, but it's like Washington's coming off a big win. Are they going to overlook Iowa? I don't know. I'm gonna go Washington here though.
I'll take Washington as well, just because I think they're trending in the right direction, and I think Iowa's just kind of middling. I mean, they've got a great defense.
And then they have Cade McNamara.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Give me Washington. Next up, we have Louisville versus Virginia. That's a team that I did not think would be in our pick'ems at all preseason. Actually, I think we did have Virginia earlier when they played Coastal Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Virginia, another shocking 4-1 team.
Only lost to Maryland. Has beaten a Boston College without Thomas Castellanos, and then has also beat a Wake Forest team by
Thomas
one.
was playing for Boston College.
Mm. Oh, he
That was
was that game?
his first game back from injury. Yep.
Yeah, he did play, but he threw 2 picks.
Yes.
So yeah, I misspoke there. But give me Louisville. I mean,
Yeah. I think Louisville has the better talent, and significantly better coach. I think Tony Elliott sucks.
yeah.
Um, but Anthony Calandri is a really good coach, quarterback. Virginia has the reason they're winning these games is because they're having crazy fourth quarters.
Mm,
Calandria just keeps them in the game and then just goes crazy in the final quarter. Louisville's second half defense this year has actually been very, very good. Their first half defense, not so much. But I've got Louisville.
yeah. I think
Next,
this is. Oh, sorry. Go.
go
No.
ahead.
I think
All
it's
right.
just 2 different tiers of teams. Louisville has lost their past 2 games. They need to figure it out quick before Miami comes. And so this could be definitely an opportunity for Louisville to try and steer the ship right after knee-jerk fans are already calling for Braum to be fired.
I don't I don't know what idiots are doing that, but
Knee-jerkers, okay?
anyway, this we got the Cotton Bowl, Red River rivalry, Texas, Oklahoma. Who you got?
Uh, Texas, even with or without Quentin Ewers. I mean, like, I still think it'll be a close game, personally, but it's also like Texas, this might be their first true test, but I mean, it's not like they're stumbling. They have not like they've beaten up on the teams they're supposed to beat up on. They're not playing it close. They're not giving us nail biters. Oklahoma, I still think is back to being a little brother again of Texas right now currently. And then until I can see that shift again, I'm gonna ride out with Texas.
Yeah, I don't think Oklahoma's good.
Yeah.
And so I just think Texas is going to win this game. It's a rivalry game. They could get hyped up for it, although Texas is literally coming off a bye week.
Mm. So
So
they're
no.
gonna be amped up for it too as well. And they got an extra week to prepare.
Texas easily. Next up, we have Penn State versus USC. Actually, did I write this one down wrong? Is this one at Penn State? I might
This
have
one
written
is
it down.
at USC.
Oh, okay. 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 Penn State versus USC.
Hmm.
USC got a terrible loss. Terrible loss.
So here's a fun bit looking at it. So it's at USC. The match predictor for ESPN Analytics is giving USC a 51.9% chance to win this game against the Nittany Lions. The question though about Penn State though is they've only really been tested by Illinois, and by all standards, that was at Penn State. So this is their first true test on the road.
You know what? By all standards, I do think it was at Penn State. I think there's ways you could flip it around, say it wasn't at Penn State, but I do think it was at Penn State.
You suck. So, uh, you know what? Give me USC. I'm gonna have
They
fun
could
with this one.
teams either play terribly the week before or lose the week before a big game all the time and then go turn around and win. This is especially at home. It's very, very possible that USC wins this game. I'm gonna go with Penn State just because.
Do you think travel plays a huge factor?
Yes, there. I forgive me because I just read the headline. I didn't actually read the article, but someone had written an article. Basically, every team that has had to travel a super long amount this year has played poorly.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I do think it is a factor, but I'm gonna take Penn State. I think defense travels, and I think they have a significantly better defense than USC.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Florida, Tennessee.
I know they lost to Arkansas, but why is this one here? Florida sucks.
Do right now. Do you know that
Florida,
they
what? Sorry?
have a winning record? They just waxed UCF.
They did not wax them. They won 24 to 13.
Yeah, I must have looked when the score was a little. Mm.
Like, I mean, like, Florida has Graham Mertz. I have a buddy who's a Florida fan. He goes, I get excited to watch every single game of Florida. And then I watch Graham Mertz throw the ball and I get upset, is what his quotes were. So, uh, shout out to Ben, by the way. But, I mean, like, Tennessee just lost. They're going to be hungry. They know they can't stumble anymore in this SEC.
Yeah, you
Florida
can.
Florida struggled, not struggled, but they beat Mississippi State, but it was not a pretty game. I don't think this one's going to be close. I think Tennessee's going to dog them.
It's also at home for Tennessee, and this is a little bit of a revenge game when Florida upset them last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Tennessee. Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Ole Miss, LSU. I'm taking Ole Miss. I think LSU sucks.
Well, I thought Ole Miss was world beaters, and then they lose to Kentucky. So I mean, yeah, give me Ole Miss still. I still think they're the better team, but we'll see. It is at LSU though.
Yeah, I don't. I don't really care.
Hmm.
It's a really tough place to play. I don't care. LSU sucks. They're not good. Vandy versus Kentucky. I mean, look, it's America's team versus Kentucky.
Wow, I never thought I'd hear Vanderbilt football team called America's team.
America's team.
Well, I'm sorry, but I'm not picking America's team. I'm picking Kentucky here.
I unfortunately I also am going to pick Kentucky. I think
Oh.
their defense is too good. They're coming off a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't prior to the upset, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
they were taking Vandy seriously at all.
I mean, Kentucky's quarterback play hasn't been fantastic this year, but I still think they find a way to beat Vanderbilt.
Quarterback play has probably been the weakest part of Kentucky this whole
Yeah,
year. But we're in agreement there. Kansas State versus Colorado. This is a 4-1 versus 4-1 matchup. Both teams
really,
come
Colorado's 4-1. I must bite my tongue.
kind
Huh?
of wild.
Yeah. But I do think they're running into one of the best teams in the Big 12, so I'm gonna lean towards Kansas State here,
The
even though
last time
it's at Colorado.
wasn't the last time they played BYU. Am I mistaken about that with Kansas State?
They did lose a lot to BYU, but I still think Kansas State is the best team in the Big 12.
Ah, for the sake of variety, give me Colorado. Why not? That's
Okay,
fine.
fair enough.
Let's ride the Dion hype train.
Yeah, it's fun.
Finally, our game of the week, we have Ohio State at Oregon. Watson's gonna be just jumping
Mm-hmm.
all 50,000. That's just it's not as big a stadium as you'd think, but it gets really loud.
Mm-hmm.
Pack that place. They get up for games. Gonna be a great environment. I'm going to pick Ohio State still.
I'm with you though, because Ohio State is the same thing as Texas. Hasn't been truly been tested, but they don't play around. They've been beating the brakes off of teams. Whereas Oregon, I mean, Boise State was close. Idaho, like first 2 weeks, they struggled to get out the gate. I mean, they're starting to hum now, but I still think Ohio State, at least from what I've seen, is the better team.
Yeah, I mean, this is more so about Oregon than it is Ohio State looking impressive. I just preseason, I thought Oregon was gonna. I mean, I thought they were gonna be the best team in the country.
I mean, they brought in all the talent.
Yeah,
Why
and
wouldn't you think it? Dan Lanning was about to be the next Alabama coach and turned it down.
yeah, so I was really high on Oregon to start the year. I obviously that has dropped off significantly. Um, I'm taking Ohio State in this one. It should be a good game though.
I
So,
gotcha.
all right. I mean, that's all we got.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to leave the people with?
I
Want to leave Jacob with?
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right, that's all we got for you. Hope you like it and subscribe it. The video, that is. That didn't make sense grammatically. Here we are. And stay tuned for Cuz action
Cuz
on
action.
tonight. All right. We'll see you.